Hey, Power Athlete Nation. Welcome to another episode of the Premier Podcast in Strength and Conditioning. I'm John Wellborn, and I'm joined by Mr. McQuilkin.
Who put the question mark on the prompter?
I believe that's kind of maybe a millennial thing where people want to ask. Maybe that's a California thing. I run into this constantly. The upspeak, where people are like, instead of being like, so what do you think, McQuilkin? Which would be a question being like, hey, this is what I think, where they do upspeak, which absolutely drives me crazy because they're making definitive statements or they're making some form of statement, but using upspeak to make it feel like a question, which I think is a California thing.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Not here, y'all.
No, not in Texas. That's how you let people know that you're not from Texas. You got to, you know what? And living here in Texas, if you can just throw a y'all in occasionally,
pronounce the apostrophe.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I know.
Y'all?
Y'all?
Yeehaw.
Yeah, you say y'all.
Y'all.
You just got to throw y'all in there. And
Fixin'.
Or the other one you throw in is a howdy. I use howdy constantly. And that's how people know. I roll up, I'm like, howdy. If you throw a howdy, y'all,
What
and maybe you're like, hey, I'm fixing to do this.
Yeah. What are you doing this weekend? I'm fixing to do some yard work.
I'm fixing to go drink a dozen beers and get weird.
You too? Did we just become best friends?
Hey, Power Athlete Nation, summer is weeks away, and you got to get that body right. Now, whether it's to pack on a little bit of muscle to fill out those pants and fill out that t-shirt, or to lean out and show off those abs by popping off that shirt, we got you covered. Now, the reason we like to start busting our ass now is so that we have a little bit of margin of error so that you can cut loose and not feel guilty. So what I want you to do is go check out one of Power Athlete's nutrition protocols. We got a leaning, we got a bulking, we got a keto, and we also have a performance protocol for those of you that need a little bit of extra attention and really trying to dial it in so that you look like $1 million come summer.
To learn more, head to powerathletehq.com/nutrition to find out which protocol is right for you. And we're going to give you an extra 20% off at checkout with the code EATTHEWEEK.
20%?
Yeah, that's all caps. EATTHEWEAK at checkout.
Dude, it sounds good to me. Now you got your mission. You know what we're expecting. Go get it. See ya. No, this is Hammer 90, dude. That's not going to happen until Hammer 91.
Hammered 90.
Man, I'm going to
Hammer 90 beers. I can go all day.
Hammer 90 is throwing me a curveball because I'm going on that motorcycle ride with Matt Vincent for Indian. So I got 7-8 days on the road, kicking ass on a Barker Lounger with handlebars. So they sent me a picture of the bike that we're going to be riding. They literally look like fucking sofas with handlebars. I'm used to like shovelhead, panhead, something that's like 90 minutes. I'm pissing blood. I can't feel my fucking hands. Like I'm used.
Did you drive across the country in a motorcycle and just eat nothing but IHOPs?
Yes. Yeah. I stopped at IHOPs and then I'd stop for dinner at gentlemen's clubs and see if I could meet young ladies that maybe wanted to take the ride with me. But oddly enough, I got there by myself and I have never eaten at IHOP ever since. So the problem is when I find a place like IHOP, I get the exact same thing. It was like a big steak omelet with 2 extra eggs, and then it was gluten-free pancakes. And I ate that pretty much every day for about 3 weeks.
Damn. Off-season training.
Yeah, off-season training. Yeah, no. Riding a rigid shovel head with an 18 over Springer that far back was like a badge of honor. Now I look at it as just a label of stupidity. Like I had this idea that like maybe I was almost like maybe like what I imagined Christianity around 1,000 years ago, where there was this idea of like suffering through salvation. I had this vision of being like, if you're going to be a biker, you got to be a fucking outlaw and you got to ride something that's completely impractical and uncomfortable. And you got to do it long distance to try to prove yourself.
Oh, biker.
And
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. And I think it was because, Bundy and RC and the cats that I used to ride with back in the day, I mean, they were legit outlaw bikers. And so I kind of got into that idea of it. And so I associate that with bikes. And now I see these bikes and the guys from Indian sent me this cool picture. And I'm like, fuck, man. Like, that looks so nice. It looks like a fucking Barker Lounger with handlebars. So I'm excited. We're going to start in San Francisco. We're going to ride down one, and then we're going to go to Joshua Tree. And I think we're only going to ride like 150 miles a day, and then we got to stop and film. And it's pretty cool because what was kind of neat, I started busting out all my gear, and they were like, hey, do you need anything? And I was like, I could use some new gloves. And he's like, oh, we'll send you whatever. I'm like, and then I tried on a bunch of my gear, And I have like when I rode the Hayabusa, I had a sport bike jacket, which I don't want to wear a sport bike jacket anymore. And then I went to go through all my leathers, and they were all like XXX. They were so fucking big on me. And like even like all my old riding gear, I pulled it out, and I was like, oh fuck. So they're supposed to be sending me some new gear, so I'm pretty stoked for that. And
do you have the fingerless leather gloves?
No. So I'm real big on like real tight fitting leather gloves. I hate loose gloves. Like same thing in the NFL. I used to wear single X receiver gloves, and I would like pry them on my hands, and then I would tape them on and cut them off because they were so tight. So I hate the feeling of loose gloves. Even like my work gloves, I buy them a size down, and I put my hands in water and get them to stretch a little bit because I like tight fitting gloves. And so I have these real bitchin' motorcycle gloves that I got at like a police supply shop, and they're super fitted, and those are pretty good. When I rode the Shovelhead and even Pan, I bought these real tight fitting gloves that actually had gel, like a memory foam gel in the palms, because the vibration of those rigid mounted motorcycles was so bad that your hands would just fall asleep. So you would pull over when your hands were asleep, and then you'd have to like do this. So I'm pretty excited. Like I was pulling out just a bunch of my gear. I have, this is so bad. I might wear them one day. It's a little warm, but I have these, I bought them in London.
Chaps.
No, I'm not a chaps guy. But I do have these bitchin' Doc Martens that are red, that are like 16 laces. So they're like mid-calf Doc Martens. And I only wore those because the way that my pipes on my bike rode, they kind of came up high on my leg. So as you were riding, if you kind of leaned over, you would burn your calf on the pipe. So I actually bought these high Doc Marten boots that I couldn't sizzle my calf in. So I actually pulled those out, and I was like blowing dust off them, put them on. And I'm like, look at these. The kids were like, when did you wear these? I'm like, when didn't I wear these?
Did you tuck your jeans into those?
No, I never did. But I used to also, what you don't want, because I always rode with like open primaries. So the primary, I'll give you a little motorcycle. Like, so the engine goes through, there's a shaft, and then there's a sprocket that attaches to another sprocket. And then there's a belt drive that goes like this. And then the belt drive is connected to the chain final drive. So the primary, so you're not going to be able to see it. It's actually on the other side. So it's on the left side of the bike. If you can look for a left side, most of these have enclosed primaries, but I always rode open primaries, like Baker. Like if you were to put Baker.
So here's a question. I just Googled Indian motorcycles, and they only have pictures of the right side.
Okay, right there. Do you see that chrome cover? Right. So off the motorcycle comes in, there's a jack shaft, and then that primary runs a belt that goes to the final drive that drives the motorcycle wheel. So that cover doesn't exist on my bikes. So I have open primaries. So what happens is that thing's spinning really fast. And if you were to have jeans that were, let's say, a little flappy, they would get caught in your primary and they would just get ripped. So what I had was a bandana that I would tie around my ankle. And then when I rode, I would just basically tie my jeans up so I didn't destroy my jeans. But I'm not necessarily a tuck your jeans in type of dude.
Okay. So like those kids on bikes that roll them up.
Mm-hmm. Same thing. I would just tuck it in with a bandana. So there was always a red bandana on my left ankle. And then
jean shorts would look all right with those?
I'm not necessarily. So there's a few faux pas that I don't do when I ride motorcycles. I've never been a shorts motorcycle guy.
Makes sense.
The other one is white tennis shoes. I'm not a tennis shoe guy either when I ride. Maybe a Vans on a short ride, but for the most part, I always wear boots.
And these Indians have
skinny jeans.
The stereo systems?
I think they legit have a stereo system, which the other thing too, which is wild, is so when I used to ride my rigid shovel, I just had something that was called a skull cap. Like it was just a small kind of fitted helmet. And then when I started riding the sport bikes, I ended up wearing a full face. And then when I went back to ride any of the kind of chopper, bobber kind of in any of the older bikes, I still wear a full face. So, dude, I was in Florida and I caught a bug in the face like a locust.
Stayed a big June bug on the way out.
It hit me like on the cheek. My cheek swole up. Like it was like I got fucking punched by like Mike Tyson at like 80 miles an hour.
On the airplane.
And I'm like, it fucking hit me. I had a buddy catch a bird in the chest and almost knocked him off the bike. But at that point I was like, man, I'll never ride full face ever again. I mean, open face. So I just wear a full face. So it was funny when they hit me up on this. I'm like, hey, I know you guys are going to probably make fun of me, but I only wear a full face. And these dudes are like, yeah, so do we. Nobody wears fucking open face anymore. I'm like, perfect. You guys are my crowd.
Fucking Tom Cruise doesn't even wear a helmet.
Oh, man. Like, so there's kind of a weird misconception in terms of motorcycle riding. Like, you can either dress to be cool or you can dress for what might potentially happen if you go down.
I mean, that's pretty smart. So I've never ridden a motorcycle. Frank McQuilkin calls them donor cycles. And that was one his big, he's like, you're never getting on there. I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the problem isn't riding the motorcycle. It's riding within traffic.
Yeah,
it's not you, like your skills in staying on the bike. It's dealing and navigating traffic. And that's where, like, dude, like I used to ride my Busa. So Charles, I'll send you a picture. You can actually post it when we're talking about this. I'll show you my bike. But I had this fucking matte black, something like Batman would ride. And it was stretched.
Which Batman?
Any of them. So legitimately, I had a black Hayabusa that literally I called it the Bat Bike. It was all matte black. Thing was so fucking savage. Had a stretch swing arm. I had like a 220 tire on it. Had titanium pipes, Yosh cams, risers. I mean, the whole thing was so fun. I had these bitchin' aluminum PM wheels. Put a fiberglass tank on it. Thing was so sick. And I used to fucking ride that from Orange County up to Carson, where at the Home Depot Center when I was training with Athletes Performance. And that's what I would ride. And I would just fucking get in the fast lane, carpool lane, and I would just lane split all the way up there.
Lane splitting.
So in California, there's a law that two vehicles can travel in the same lane next to each other. They put that in so that the CHP could ride next to each other. But that means that a motorcycle can split and ride around cars in the same lane. I don't believe you can lane split here in Texas.
Maybe.
I've seen people do it, but I don't know if it's a law the way it is in California. In California, like I expect to see motorcycles lane split, but I'll tell you here in Texas, I don't think they have that law because I've seen people so in California when you pull up, like let's say you're the third person pulling up and there's already cars, you basically split the lane, you get up to the front. Because what you don't want to be is sitting behind somebody and some idiot fucking texting rear ends you, which I've seen happen here twice. So when we moved here, I just put my bikes on pallets and they're up in the shop. But so I get to go on this adventure. So that's going to kind of fuck up my Hammer 90. And then we come back and we go to Summer Strong, which is totally going to mess up Hammer 90.
Well, I'm working out there.
Well, yeah, we're going to train there. Yeah. But I mean, we're going to be out of the routine.
3 meals a day.
Okay. Well, we'll stay tight, and then we got to finish up Hammer 90 at the end of the month.
Yeah, real tight. Okay, our question from the hotline.
Oh, sorry, dude, we totally went off on a tangent, but we have this thing called Power Athlete Hotline.
We're allowed to do.
I know. It's called Going into the Rabbit Hole. We have this thing called Power Athlete Hotline. We set it up on WhatsApp, so you can text, you can send pictures, you can do whatever you want.
How about if you're a motorcycle dude, send us, John, photos of your chopper. For your bike.
Yeah, I'll send you photos of my bike. Maybe we'll post some old pictures. Yeah. I'll show you what I looked like when I was out there riding. Dude,
are you going to grow a mustache for this Mount Vincent trip?
Nah, you know what? I grew the beard and it was all right. I mean, if I had a beard like Charles, look at Charles' beard. It's so thick. I mean,
weak chin.
Well, but I am excited to go on this ride. But yeah, man, it'll be cool. So, but we're going to ride down one. I think they got, drones and cameras and it's a big fucking ordeal production. So I'm pretty stoked and I'm stoked that they sent me some new gear. So, I did hit a pep install because I think I might bring my helmet. I told Harry, I'm like, hey, could you put a little mock together and maybe wrap the helmet like you did my welding mask? So then if I'm riding, we could get a little Power Athlete publicity. So maybe it'll come through, maybe it won't.
We shall see.
Yeah.
All right. Here's our question.
Lay it
from
on me,
the
Mr.
hotline. Hey, John and Tex, this is Joe. I've got a question for you guys, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it. I've been training with your programs, mostly on Hammer, for over 2 years, but I've recently switched over to Jack Street. I'm aspiring to do some hardcore things in my near future by attending SFAS, Special Forces Assessment and Selection, during a 21-day-long selection. I hear they do a lot of low carry and high carry events, like litter movements and naturally rucking. Rucks can weigh in between 50 to 70 pounds mostly, and sometimes up to 100. Distances averagely range 12 to 20 miles. I know I need to work on my grip strength personally, but I need to train for a huge capacity as well. Now, I also don't want to be your average Joe in selection. I want to go in performing as a stud and be an absolute monster for this 21-day long selection. Question is, how can I prepare for these events, get better grip strength, and integrate this with training I already do? I love the show. You guys inspire me to do great things, and I'm just trying to be harder than coffin nails. I'm looking forward to hearing back on this one. Thanks. Peace. Joe.
I think this is kind of an interesting piece. He was on Hammer, went to Jack Street. I think you go back to Hammer, and there's a pretty legit template on Hammer with our 3-day strength. So obviously it's Monday's more of a lower sprint day. Tuesday we come in and we'll actually pull pretty heavy. And then obviously they got our trunk work, ton of accessory, bunch of movement stuff with our EE runs on Wednesday. Thursday they come in. That's going to be another lower. Well, actually Monday's more of a combination, full body. And then we pull heavy on Tuesday, EE runs. And then we're going to have that lower body primal, upper body primal. Friday, our longer run. And then Saturday's kind of a fun training day. So what I would end up doing is following the template on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, can keep the sprint work in, because you have to remember that and we've talked about it on this podcast ad nauseum, those who sprint carry more muscle and are better and stronger than those that don't. It takes a ton of strength and muscle to be able to sprint. So you want to increase capacity. You want to be more jacked, sprint. So that's going to be on Monday. Tuesday, which ends up just not, it's never been ideal, but that's really the only day that we can pull heavy and hit all of our back and tend to do a bunch of our dynamic pulling. That's going to be on that Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, I want you to hit your trunk work. And instead of the EE runs, I want you to load up a pack and I want you to go long. I want you to start pushing some capacity and start kind of mimicking. If you know you got to pull a 60, 100-pound pack, I need you to be comfortable with those weights and being able to go out on a longer ruck. I don't need you to go out for 3 days, but I need you to at least go for 60 minutes, if not farther. Hit the trunk work. Thursday, we're going to come in, hit your lower upper primal movements. Friday, we have our longer run, which, could be mile repeats. It could be 3 miles, somewhere in there. You're going to have to tend to take that more specific. So that's your sport specific training day. That's going to be more specific to what you need for your selection. And I don't know what's in your selection. You gave us a good indicator, but you're going to know specifically because you've spoken to guys, they've given you a heads up. So that Friday becomes more your sport specific day, where now I'm going to get comfortable with a 100-pound pack. I'm going to go farther. If I got to lift logs or do whatever, that's going to be the big day. And then you're going to come in on Saturday and probably just hit Saturday's workout, take it a recovery. Sunday, I'd probably go out for a walk, unweighted, go out for at least 3-4 mile walk just to kind of recover. Monday, do it all over again. So, really the focus, and here's what I think a lot of guys do, is they haven't been doing the training volume. So all of a sudden the selection deal comes up, they ratchet up their training, and by the time they get to selection, they fucking have burned the candle at both ends and they're not prepared. Mm-hmm. So I think what you've done is you've built a pretty good base doing Hammer, doing some Jack Street. Now switch it back to Hammer and follow the template we've laid it out. And this is actually really fortuitous. One of our guys, John, who's John Valentine, who took the class with me with Craig Douglas. He's a fucking badass BJJ guy and a shooting instructor and does a bunch of stuff in New Mexico. He kind of hit me up on a similar question. So this is actually for him as well. And I told him the exact same thing. Monday, follow it as prescribed, sprint your ass off. Tuesday, come in. I want you to pull heavy, do all that. Wednesday, switch out the EE runs for something longer, hit all the trunk work. Thursday, come in, upper body, lower primal. Friday, fucking that's your day to burn it to the ground. Fucking go selection, sport specific. Saturday, come in and do it. And then Sunday, nice, easy recovery walk day, and then do it again. And I think what happens all too often, it's like cramming for a test. People figure like, oh, I'm going to cram for this thing. And then they're fucking smoked, because really 21 days is a bit more of an endurance test than anything. Like mental, if you've done the work and you're prepared, you should be fine. But I think you have to get comfortable handling those heavy poundages. It's kind of like and I'll liken this to football a little bit. You sprint, you do all this running, you do all this in the off season, especially in summer. You show back up and, all of a sudden you're fucking in pads, and there's really no way to simulate the impacts of putting on pads, 9-on-7, 1-on-1, all that other shit, unless you actually do it. So, I mean, you guys have the opportunity to strap it up a little bit and know what's going to be asked. But at the end of the day, there's no way for you to replicate it because the instructors are there, their courses, there's so much specific stuff, but you can be in the best physical shape you can to be survived. And then the other issue is avoiding injury. I bet you a lot of guys come in 100% ready to do this and could do it, but injury ends up peeling them out. So be smart. Make sure you take care of your feet. Make sure that your shoulders and doing all your mobility work and doing everything you can to make sure that you're hydrated and recovered and sleeping. Because at the end of the day, I have a feeling that sleep's going to be not at a premium. That's going to be at the deficit. They're going to try to fucking break you with lack of sleep. If you look at any of the ways that they break prisoners for the CIA and any of the others, the torture stuff, the first one, sleep deprivation. And then they go from there. So,
yeah, we also have an opportunity with our Iron Flex program to teach you good habits and understand your body. So if you are able to throw that in there with your mornings, so preach outside of training, it's either in the mornings if you train later or in the evenings if you're training first thing in the morning. So get to know your body, breathe, and you're also creating habits that you can take into this 21 days that will prolong your ability and aim to prevent injury. So we're not asking a lot. 1, 2, 3 sets of 4, 5, 6, 7 movements that don't require a weight room that will then aim at recovery. So I would throw Iron Flex in there as well. And then an opportunity, I want to throw out one of Andy Stump's presentations at one of our symposiums, where he spoke on his approach to selection way back when was 6 hours at a time.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how this 21 days is going to be broken down. What they had back then was a meal every 6 hours.
He stole that from Vin Diesel.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah, Vin Diesel lives his life a quarter mile at a time. Andy Stump lives his life 6 hours at a time.
Yeah, the whole aura from Charlie Sheen in Navy SEALs and Vin Diesel in the Fast and Furious films.
I'm pretty sure I've seen Andy wear a sleeveless black shirt with a golden cross dangling on the outside numerous times. Fanny pack too.
I mean, if I recall correctly, last time we saw him in person, he fist bumped and said, "Family."
Boom.
Boom.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Power Athlete Radio. I don't know if we can improve upon that, McQuilkin. I mean, that was a drop the mic fucking moment. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to Power Athlete Radio. See ya.
Family.